Time now for our international press review in the papers with James Creedon. James, Russia, Sarkozy and all that jazz.
Absolutely. The Russian press is full of discussion over Sarkozy's latest trip to Moscow. And the headline of the Russian daily Gudok says, "In the absence of blackmail." So it's talking about France really taking a very conciliatory approach on behalf of the EU to this dispute. It doesn't want to anger the Great Bear, and it is standing back somewhat and not playing hardball. And it is reminding us that Sarkozy's trip came just a day ahead of Russia establishing diplomatic relations with South Ossetia and Abkhazia. And staying with Russia and Georgia, the New Zealand Herald possibly has an explanation as to why the second round of talks was necessary, a bad translation of the original ceasefire document. So this is a bit of an embarrassment for French diplomacy after Sarkozy was feting the return onto the international diplomatic scene of France. The document was badly translated. The original document spoke of security for South Ossetia and Abkhazia. Then translated into English and Russian, it speaks of security in the two zones. So this sort of allowed for a somewhat manoeuvring by Russia, and it allowed for their troops to stay in the two areas. So it's a bit of an embarrassment and a blow for French as the lingua franca of diplomacy. So now moving on to Libération, we're staying with the war theme. Libération has a whole section dedicated to cyber defense. And Russia has been known lately, especially in the Georgian conflict, to use the internet as a tool of aggression, and especially in this day and age with banking systems and government departments, water supply systems, everything depending on computers. A whole country could be paralysed really by these sort of techniques. So NATO is setting up a cyber defence centre in Tallinn in Estonia. Estonia also has been targeted by these tactics with 30 experts, and that's set to kick off in January, trying to stop Russian aggression through the internet.
Interesting stuff. Can I go back to the way the Russian press looked at Sarkozy's visit? Was it very favourable? You know, did they regard him as a serious man?
It seemed to be favourable. It seemed to sort of view him as a man who was prepared to compromise with Russia and not to take the hardline approach which could have been taken. Okay. So that has been pretty much spoken of in the Russian press. Now moving on to Le Figaro.
Yeah, this is a cracking
This is
story,
a bizarre story.
Because I've got a 10-year-old son. Go on, explain what it's about.
Well, it's talking about children being enlisted by local councils to spy on their neighbours.
Where's this?
It's in various local councils, Ealing Council in West London,
so
also in Essex. It's in England. And they're being called junior street watchers, kids as young as 10 or 12.
Ridiculous.
They're being given code names, James Bond style code numbers, and then they're ringing into a special informers hotline to report on traffic offences, graffiti, things like that. So a lot of people are angry about it. One association called Taxpayers Alliance is saying that it's straight out of the Stasi copybook, and that it's really downright sinister in terms of tactics being employed by local councils.
OK, James, we're out of time, I'm afraid, but that's a seemingly sort of crazy story to end on, I think. I thought of my 10-year-old son turning supergrass sounds a bit strange. I'm sure he wouldn't go along with it. He's that kind of a guy. James, thank you very much. That was our International Press Review. Stay with us.
After the hugely popular Youth Day in Sydney, Pope Benedict is in France from September 12th to 15th. France 24 will be covering the event live. Don't miss the Pontiff's meeting with French President Nicolas Sarkozy and his pilgrimage to Lourdes. Tune in for live commentary and analysis during Pope Benedict's visit in France, only on France 24.